There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop letting emotions steer your decisions. Once upon a time, every insult pulled a reaction from you, every criticism cut deep, and every betrayal left you in pieces. You used to defend yourself at every corner, fight to prove your worth, and let other people's chaos dictate your peace. But now something inside you has changed. You've learned to respond instead of react. Reaction is impulsive, it's emotional, it's what happens when pain, anger, or pride takes the driver's seat. But response, that comes from a place of wisdom and self-awareness. It's a pause before the storm. It's the breath you take before saying something you'll regret. It's the moment you choose understanding over outrage, calm over chaos, growth over ego. When you reach that place, you start to unsettle people who expected you to crumble. The same individuals who once provoked you to watch you fall now see you standing taller, quieter, yet stronger than ever. They can't comprehend it because they built their sense of control on your emotional instability. They were used to the version of you that shouted, defended, and broke down. But now you've replaced that noise with stillness, and that stillness terrifies them. You've realized that not every battle deserves your energy, and not every insult requires your attention. You've learned that peace is more powerful than proof. So you stop arguing with people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop explaining yourself to those who don't deserve access to your emotions. You understand something deeper now. Your reaction is their reward. When you don't give them that, they lose the game they were trying to play. You respond with grace, not because you're weak, but because you finally understand that maturity means choosing peace even when chaos begs for attention. This is the beginning of your quiet strength, the kind of strength that doesn't shout to be seen, but is deeply felt by everyone around you. When your calm becomes your defense, your silence becomes your power. And that is how your inner peace starts destroying your enemies silently, without a single word spoken. There comes a season in your life when the same tactics that used to break you no longer even move you. The same people who once knew exactly which words could trigger your emotions now stand there confused, wondering why you don't flinch anymore. That's what true inner peace does. It changes your emotional frequency. It elevates you beyond manipulation. Once upon a time, you were easy to provoke. Someone could twist your words, question your intentions, or gossip behind your back, and it would set your soul on fire. You would overthink, lose sleep, replay the situation, and try to figure out how to make it right. But now you've reached a sacred stillness. You understand that not every disturbance deserves a reaction. You've learned that peace is not the absence of conflict, it's the presence of self-control in the midst of it. The truth is, people who thrive on drama need a response to feel relevant. They feed off chaos because it gives them a sense of power. But when you refuse to play the game, when you respond with calm, with silence, or simply by walking away, they start to lose control. Your stillness exposes their instability. Your quiet confidence forces them to face the emptiness within themselves. You begin to realize that their provocation was never really about you. It was about them needing to feel significant. They needed your anger, your frustration, your confusion to feel validated. But peace removes that power from their hands. When you no longer rise to the bait, they start to unravel because they can't comprehend how you've become so untouchable. This is what real strength looks like, being calm in moments that used to make you collapse, smiling when others expect you to rage, walking away when others want you to fight. There comes a point in life when you realize that not every person deserves an explanation, and not every misunderstanding deserves your energy. That moment marks a turning point in your personal power, because for so long, you felt this need to be understood. You wanted people to see your heart, to recognize your intentions, to know that your motives were pure. You defended yourself, clarified every rumor, tried to prove your truth, but the more you explained, the less they listened. And then one day you got tired, not angry, just tired. You finally understood that silence is not a sign of defeat, it's a declaration of self-respect. You realized that your peace was too precious to waste on convincing minds already made up against you. So you stopped talking, not because you had nothing to say, but because you no longer needed validation to know who you are. Silence became your shield. It's not passive, it's powerful. Because when you stop explaining, you force people to sit with their assumptions. You let the truth reveal itself in time without your interference. Those who were genuine will find their way back to understanding you, and those who were committed to misunderstanding you will simply fade away, confused by your calm, unsettled by your grace. Silence also protects your spirit from unnecessary emotional clutter. Every word you don't speak is energy saved for something that truly matters. You know, your growth, your healing, your purpose. When you remain silent in the face of provocation, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're choosing peace over pride. It's not about winning the argument. It's about refusing to lose your inner balance. Here's the truth many people don't understand. Silence is not empty. It's full of answers. It's full of boundaries. It's full of wisdom that words can't always express. It's the sound of a person who has stopped performing for acceptance and started living from authenticity. The people who once thrived on your reactions, the ones who loved seeing you defend yourself, now feel powerless. Because they can't engage with what doesn't respond. They can't control what doesn't explain. Your silence exposes their noise, and that exposure is more painful than any words you could ever say. So you stay still, you stay quiet, you let your peace speak for you. Over time, your silence becomes a mirror reflecting their behavior, not yours. And that's what destroys your enemies, not vengeance, not retaliation, but the simple act of not giving them your voice. There's a deep freedom that comes when you no longer measure your peace by someone else's progress. When their success doesn't stir jealousy in you and their failure doesn't bring you joy, that's when you know you've evolved. Because once upon a time you cared, you compared, you wanted to be seen, to be chosen, to be validated. You looked sideways at what others were achieving and asked yourself, why not me? But peace matures you. It softens your ego and sharpens your perspective. You begin to realize that what belongs to you can't be taken and what doesn't belong to you can't be forced. You stop trying to keep up with people and start keeping pace with purpose. There's something disarming about a person who no longer competes, because most people live in invisible comparison. They need to be ahead, to be admired, to be envied. But when you've found your center, that entire game loses meaning. You stop counting other people's blessings and start watering your own. You become grateful for your lane, no matter how long or winding it seems. And here's the irony. The moment you stop competing, you start attracting. When you're genuinely unbothered by who's winning or losing, you create space for your own growth. Your peace becomes magnetic. People can feel that you're no longer moved by external validation. They sense that you've stopped defining your worth by outcomes, yours or anyone else's. Your enemies, true peace has a presence. It's not loud, it's not boastful, it's something you feel. When a person has truly made peace with themselves, their energy shifts. It's calm, grounded, assured. They don't need to announce their worth because it shows in every quiet move they make. And that's what unsettles people who haven't yet found that same stillness within themselves. You see, when you've healed, when you've faced your own darkness, when you've wrestled with your insecurities and finally learned to love yourself through them, you start carrying yourself differently. Your posture changes, your tone softens, and your spirit speaks before you ever open your mouth. You walk into rooms with a quiet confidence that says, I'm not here to compete, I'm here to exist fully as myself. And that kind of energy can't be faked. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. It's what happens when your mind, your heart, and your soul finally agree on who you are. You stop seeking attention, and yet somehow attention finds you. People start noticing your calm. They don't understand it, but they feel it, because peace vibrates differently. It's steady, it's magnetic, it doesn't demand the spotlight, it becomes the light. But here's the truth. Not everyone is comfortable with that energy. Some people are intimidated by what they can't influence. They'll sense your self-assurance and interpret it as pride, simply because they can't control it. They'll try to provoke you, test your limits, or diminish your calm, not because you've done anything wrong, but because your peace reflects the chaos they've been avoiding in themselves. That's the power of inner peace, that it's a silent mirror. When people come near you, they either rise to your frequency or retreat from it. You don't even have to say a word. Your energy does the talking. Your composure speaks volumes. And those who once thrived on your emotional reactions now find nothing to grip onto. You've become unreachable to drama, immune to gossip, and invisible to negativity. The more peaceful you become, the more your energy purifies your surroundings. You'll notice people either feeling deeply comfortable around you or deeply uncomfortable. The ones who are sincere will find rest in your calm. The ones who aren't will squirm in it, because your peace exposes their restlessness. Your silence makes them hear their own noise. And that's what destroys your enemies. Not revenge, not confrontation, but your presence. Just your being. You've become so steady, so centered that their chaos can't touch you. You intimidate them without even trying, not because you're loud or forceful, but because you've learned to master the one thing they never could, yourself. Your peace radiates like quiet fire. It doesn't burn to destroy. It burns to illuminate. And that light, that steady glow, becomes your silent power, the kind that doesn't need to fight for respect because it already commands it. There's a rare kind of peace that comes when you stop waiting for people to make things right. When you stop waiting for apologies that will never come, explanations that will never satisfy, and conversations that will never go the way you rehearsed them in your mind. That's when you realize that closure doesn't always come from them. Sometimes it's something you give yourself. Forgiveness in its purest form isn't about saying what you did was okay. It's about saying what you did no longer controls me. It's the quiet decision to stop carrying the weight of someone else's actions. You stop seeking understanding from those who weren't capable of giving it, and instead you free yourself from the emotional prison they unknowingly built inside you. You see, forgiveness is not weakness, it's strength. In its most mature form, it takes courage to look at the wound, acknowledge the pain, and then choose to move forward without resentment. Because bitterness feels like protection, but it's really peace. One of the greatest signs of inner peace is when you stop needing people to understand you. There was a time when you spent so much of your emotional energy trying to explain your intentions, defend your character, and justify your choices. You wanted people to see your heart, to recognize that your actions came from sincerity, not selfishness. You wanted to be seen accurately, but the truth is not everyone can understand you, because not everyone is meant to. At some point, you wake up and realize that the constant need to be understood is draining your peace. You realize that people interpret from the level of their own experience, not yours. So no matter how carefully you explain, some will only ever hear what confirms their assumptions. And that's not your burden to carry anymore. Peace teaches you to release the need for validation. You no longer chase approval because you finally trust your own heart. You stop over-explaining to people who were never really listening in the first place. You stop reopening your wounds just to prove they exist. You stop inviting people into your story who only came to judge the ending. Instead, you quietly detach. You realize that your purpose doesn't need to be understood, it just needs to be lived. You no longer waste time trying to convince anyone of who you are. You simply are. You let your actions, your consistency, and your energy speak the truth over time. Because peace doesn't argue, it demonstrates. And here's the part that confuses people the most. Your calmness in the face of misunderstanding. When you don't fight back, when you don't defend yourself, when you just smile and move on, it unsettles them. They expected you to plead your case, to beg for clarity, to prove them wrong, but you've evolved past that. You've discovered that truth doesn't need an audience. It just needs alignment. You've learned that being misunderstood doesn't make you wrong. It just means that your frequency is no longer accessible to certain people. And that's okay. Growth will always make you outgrow explanations, because when you're aligned with your peace, you stop negotiating your authenticity for approval. This kind of detachment isn't arrogance, it's self-trust. You've learned to let people think what they want while you continue to live in truth. You've learned that those who genuinely see you don't need explanations, and those who don't see you won't believe them anyway. So now you walk with quiet confidence. You no longer carry the weight of proving yourself. You let peace do the talking. You allow misunderstanding to exist without disturbing your stability. You don't chase clarity from chaos, you simply remain still. Because at the end of the day, being at peace with yourself is far more valuable than being understood by others. And that's what destroys your enemies silently, but the fact that their opinions no longer define your direction. You've outgrown the noise. You've risen above the need to be seen because you've already been found by yourself. When you fought hard to find peace, you begin to treat it like something holy, something sacred that must be guarded, not shared carelessly. There was a time when you gave everyone access to your energy. You let people walk in and out of your space without discernment. You tried to be everything for everyone, that the helper, the healer, the listener, the peacemaker. But somewhere along the way, you realize that not everyone who enters your space comes with good intentions. Some come to drain, some to disrupt, and others to destroy quietly what took you years to build. That's when you changed. You started paying attention to the energy people bring. You began to notice how you feel after certain conversations, lighter or heavier, calm or uneasy. And you started honoring those feelings because peace has made you sensitive to what disturbs it. You no longer ignore red flags in the name of kindness. People start noticing that your life feels lighter, your words sound softer, and your energy feels purer. That's what peace does. It transforms you so deeply that your silence becomes your defense and your boundaries become your power. So yes, you protect your space like it's sacred, because it is. It's where your spirit breathes, where your thoughts heal, and where your strength regenerates. You no longer let anyone with chaos in their hands touch the stillness you fought for. That's how your peace destroys your enemies silently, by making you untouchable. Not because you've built walls, but because you've built wisdom. And now your life has become a quiet fortress of peace. Not loud, not guarded by anger, but protected by grace. Inner peace is not a shield you hold up against the world. It's the quiet fire burning inside you that no one can put out. It doesn't roar, it doesn't demand to be seen, but it changes everything around it.